If you believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, and walk across the water, the water. If you're defeated, falling on your knees and looking out for some hope tonight, you try to stand up, but you throw your hands up like you no longer have the strength to fight. Cause you've seen too many sunsets, too many days ending in the darkest night. But on your own, you'll never know, you'll never know. If you believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, walk across the water, the water. Believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, walk across the water. If you believe. They say that all you need is faith, but it's almost like you lost your way. Took a few wrong turns, took a few breaks, falling behind now, looking for grace. Cause you need someone to lift you up, yeah, make right all the things you've done. Cause on your own, you'll never know, you'll never know. If you believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, walk across the water, the water. Believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, walk across the water. If you believe, yeah, you can do anything, you can do anything, you can do anything. If you believe.
Juan, buenas tardes, buenas noches, desde el lugar donde nos estén viendo. El día de hoy tenemos un invitado que viene desde los Estados Unidos, más exactamente California. Él nos va a hablar y nos va a acompañar y nos va a contar un poco más sobre su vida, su gran vida que ha llevado a pesar de tener una condición, y esto no lo ha limitado, porque Pompe no lo tiene a él tiene a Pompe. ¿Qué más, Fernando? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Qué más,
Hola
amigo?
Brian, ¿cómo estás?
Vale,
Bueno, bienvenidos a todos los que se han estado conectando por las redes sociales. Estamos en Facebook, en YouTube, en Instagram, creo que me dijo también Brian. Qué bueno que pues saquen este tiempito, hoy viernes 26 de septiembre, para que puedan estar en esta conversación entre amigos con nuestro amigo Dwayne Wilson, que vive en el sur de California, en Irving, si se lo pronuncié bien, Irving, en el sur de California. Él tiene también como nosotros Pompe en aparición tardía. Él además pues también tiene una columna en el sitio web de Pompe Designs New. Hace podcast, da entrevistas, le gusta el deporte. Entonces acá lo vamos a tener hoy hablándonos un poco de todo lo que hace en Estados Unidos, es esa labor social que invita a las demás personas también a salir adelante con sus proyectos de vida. Muchísimas gracias a las voluntarias o voluntarios de la Universidad del Bosque que hoy nos sacan, también al profe Cristian, que hace bastante que no lo veíamos, ya está por acá nuevamente con nosotros, y se nos vienen cosas muy grandes también con la Universidad INC. Él va a estar más adelante, nos va a contar un poquito, algo breve para que se queden picados y puedan seguirnos nuevamente en este mes de octubre, que vienen cosas muy buenas. También participantes de Pompe que están por acá, a José, a Elizabeth, a las personas que nos están escuchando, a Francisco, que nos está también en Zoom. Y bueno, no siento más, Dwayne, ¿cómo estás? Qué gusto tenerte por acá.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here with everyone. Thank you, and appreciate giving me this opportunity to share my story, my journey living with late onset Pompe disease.
Bueno, cuéntanos, Dwayne, cómo era tu vida antes de tener Pompe y cómo lo es ahora.
Well, I was not diagnosed with late onset Pompe disease until I was 50 years old. So I lived a long time, having Pompe, but not knowing that I had Pompe. And as I look back on my childhood, I noticed I could never do a sit up. I could never do a push up or a pull up. I was always felt like I was weak in my upper body. I wasn't very strong. I was slow. I had no balance. I'm tall and I'm big. I played basketball, but I didn't play any other sports. I didn't ride a skateboard, no roller skating, just kind of slow and awkward. But it just, you know, lived life until I got to a point where I noticed I was having problems climbing up the stairs. I couldn't climb up the steps one leg after the other. I was climbing one leg at a time. And then I noticed myself having to grab onto the handrail and pull myself up as I was climbing up the stairs because we lived on a second floor apartment. I also noticed I couldn't get up off the floor, the ground. I would have to crawl over to a couch or a table and help pull myself up. And I began to realize I couldn't stand up from a seated position. I had to push off from the chair to stand up. And, you know, life seemed to be fine before then. I just did things like everybody else did. And, I'd seen some doctors and they just said you have tight muscles, you have tight hamstrings, you just need to stretch more and stuff. But I noticed too that I was very fatigued, very tired. And when I went to lay down at night, I had some problems breathing and just decided that that wasn't normal just because I turned 50 and went to go see the doctor and start that diagnostic journey.
Excelente. Dane,
Hasta después de los 50 fue que
sí,
se la diagnosticaron.
Yeah,
¿qué,
I was diagnosed when I was 50 years old.
cómo fue tu reacción?
Well, I kind of was relieved when I got the diagnosis. I saw my normal doctor, and he referred me to a neurologist, a specialist, and they did a nerve conduction test and a EMG or electromagnetic test that checks your muscles, and it came back that I had a muscle disease, a myopathy. But my neurologist had said that there was over 200 different kinds of myopathies. And my neurologist asked me if I had any new symptoms or any new problems. And I said, I mentioned that when I was in a swimming pool with water like up to my neck, it felt like someone was stepping on my chest and I was having a hard time breathing in the water. And my neurologist, for some strange reason, said, "Oh, that sounds like Pompe disease." So then he ordered a muscle biopsy and a Pompe genetic blood test, and then referred me to a neuromuscular specialist. And then it all confirmed that I had Pompe disease. And, when you're going to the doctors and you're having these issues with weak legs and not feeling right, the thing that comes to my mind is something, more serious like ALS or MS, or you think of limb-girdle muscular dystrophy, these things that are out there more on social media that you see and you hear about. Well, I never heard of Pompe disease. So of course I, get on the internet and start looking it up. And once I saw that there actually was, a treatment for it, to help slow down the progression of the disease. It felt like a weight was lifted, off of my
Oh,
shoulders, knowing that, at least there's a treatment for
fíjate,
Pompe.
fíjate, a mí, haberme enterado, a mí me salvó la vida. Saber que tenía Pompe, a mí me salvó la vida porque yo estaba desahuciado, como que no tenía otra alternativa y prácticamente era lo último. Y como dices tú, el tratamiento, no solamente la enzima, sino la nutrición y la actividad, la terapia, me ayudó bastante. Entonces, fíjate que son casos donde las personas pueden ver que tener Pompe no es lo último y que siempre hay una esperanza y hay una historia de vida que nos puede ayudar, nos puede alegrar el día. Este
Bueno,
hombre que ustedes ven aquí hace grandes cosas, mi respeto. La última vez lo vi entrando a la piscina, ¿cierto, Fernando?
sí, sí, te
Bárbaro.
vemos en una piscina, vemos que haces mucho deporte, que haces bastantes actividades de tu día a día. Bueno, hago un paréntesis, Dwayne, porque pues hay gente nueva que ha entrado a Zoom para comentarles pues que Dwayne habla inglés y que activen los subtítulos en la parte de abajo. Tenemos subtítulos traducidos para las personas que quieran entender un poquito más. Si de pronto pues saben ya un poco más de inglés, pues lo pueden dejar así. Si no, lo pueden colocarle en closed caption en la parte de abajo. Colocan el idioma que hablan, si es español, español o, bueno, o si es inglés, inglés. Entonces, ese es el paréntesis. Cuéntanos, Dwayne, entonces, ¿cómo es ese día a día de todas las actividades que haces en deportes, en
Sí,
piscina, en fútbol americano?
Well, my day-to-day life, I still am able to work full time. I work for Toshiba America Business Solutions that makes copier machines that makes your copies, or you print things out. I used to be a technician where I was the guy that would come to your office with the tool case and I would fix your copier. You have a paper jam or something, and I would be the one that would fix it. Now that I've been doing this for like 30 years, I work for the corporate company and I do technical support. So I have a desk job and we support all the Toshiba dealers in the United States and actually in Latin America. We have a Latin America service manager and regional specialists who are going to be making a trip to Argentina in October. I was trying to say, can I tag along with them? But um, we provide the support and we escalate technical issues to our parent company in Japan. So I have a desk job now. I sit at a desk. I work in the office 3 days a week, and then I work from home remotely 2 days, Monday and Wednesdays, which is nice because that allows me to have my, biweekly ERT infusions while I'm at home now. I transitioned over to home infusion, so I do home infusions every other week, and then I'm still working, and it's an 8 to 5 job in California. I like the sunshine. I grew up in California and moved away to Spokane, Washington. Lived there for like 15 years, moved to Montana for a few years, and then moved back to Spokane. My son and daughter-in-law and 2 granddaughters live in Spokane, and I have 2 other sons that live in Spokane with my ex-wife. And my youngest son is 20 years old, and he's going to college to learn environmental sciences at Eastern Washington University. So I still have a day-to-day life of staying busy and staying active. And then when I'm not working, yes, I like sports. I'm a big sports fan. I like American football, baseball. and hockey and college basketball and a little bit of soccer. But I like going to events in person. It's always fun to be outside doing things. Because I live in Southern California, we're close to the beach. I usually tell people we're about 20 minutes south of Disneyland. People get an idea we're not too far away from Disneyland. And then we're about 20
Mira,
minutes away from the beach, the ocean. So I like to spend time at the beach when it's nice. We do have a swimming pool in our apartment complex, and I like to lounge by not relax by the pool and sit in the hot tub. I feel for me personally, sitting in the hot tub, the hot water helps my muscles to recover from my daily activity and doing things. So I use that part of my aqua therapy, I call it. I find times where I walk laps in the swimming pool to get a little bit of exercise. And it's easier to do exercises in the water than it is out on land. I do physical therapy off and on. I'll go for 6 months and then life happens and then it's 6 months off and then, back at physical therapy here and there. I do physical therapy off and on. I have routine doctor visits, every year to check my conditions and things like that. And I like going to concerts. I like Christian music, listen to Christian music a lot. And I like to fish. I haven't gone fishing in a while, but I like to fish and play games and be active. And I'm a grandpa now. The youngest granddaughter is 2 years old, and the other one's 4 years old. So when we visit, that keeps me busy. And I, once I got the diagnosis with Pompe disease, I kind of had a shift in my mindset about what was important to me. And out on social media there, I say that, life is about having adventures and experiences, making memories with friends and family, and, trying things for the first time, doing things for the first time. I went to Hawaii for the first time 2 years ago, and my screensaver right now is Hawaii. We went to the island of Oahu and had an amazing time. And when I was in Hawaii, I went snorkeling. And that was the very first time that I'd been snorkeling. And so I feel like, there's certain things that Pompeii has taken away from me, but there are a lot of things that Pompeii has given me. One has given me a lot of new friends, a lot of new people to meet. And I think the biggest thing about Pompeii is the support groups and Facebook, all the people that you connect with Pompeii, and going to the Pompeii conferences that they have. I was able to go to the AMDA and the IPA conference in San Antonio, Texas, USA in 2019, and then again in 2024. And it was just amazing meeting other Pompeii patients from Australia, New Zealand, France, Germany, Italy, Canada. It was amazing. And it's just, you like to get out there and you learn what other patients are doing and use their experience to help your journey along the way. And so that's how I felt like I wanted to share my journey and my story with others.
Bueno, importantísimo, importantísimo lo que acaba de decir Dwayne. O sea, es un mensaje de que
sí,
no solamente somos una patología, hay que coleccionar esos momentos en familia, esas aventuras, esos paseos familiares, no quedarnos con los problemas, sino poder evolucionar y poder poder vivir la vida como cualquier otra persona, vivir esas experiencias, eso es importante. O sea, realmente la familia, los grupos de apoyo, las asociaciones de pacientes ayudan muchísimo para que esa salud mental y esa paz esté siempre con nosotros. La religión, sean creyentes o no, también ayuda muchísimo. El tema de confiar en algo poderoso. Y todo esto, esas experiencias nos sirven para que podamos crecer espiritualmente y podamos ser mejores personas cada día. Bueno, les comento que estamos en Facebook, en YouTube. Nos gustaría saber si tienen preguntas, si hay algo por ahí. Ya tengo dos preguntas que me mandaron para Dwayne. No sé si Brian o nuestras compañeras del voluntariado tengan, de la universidad tengan de pronto alguna pregunta. Voy a empezar con una que me mandaron para Dwayne. Me dice, ¿cómo ha sido tu tratamiento de pompe en Estados Unidos? ¿Cómo ha evolucionado? Si empezaste de pronto con algún medicamento en especial y ahorita estás con otro. Cuéntanos, Dwayne.
When I was diagnosed, I was offered uh, three different options. Um, I was given the option of the
Tres.
current FDA approved drug of Lumazyme. Um, and then at the time I was diagnosed in November of 2018, there were two clinical trials going on for new Pompeii drugs. Uh, One of those clinical trials turned out to be Genzyme's new drug, Nexviazyme. And then the other clinical trial was the new dual component uh, therapy treatment from Amicus Therapeutics with the oral chaperone pill and the ERT drug. I chose that trial. I was in that trial for 5.5 years until it got FDA approval. And I am currently on that dual component treatment where I take the oral chaperone pill an hour before the ERT infusion starts. I have to fast 2 hours before taking the pill and then fast 2 hours after taking the pill. So there's a 4 hour total fast. And then I have the infusion, which is the 4 hours long. And I've had 174 infusions so far. In November, it'll be 7 years since
Wow.
I've been 7 years since I've been diagnosed with Pompe disease. And in December, it'll be 7 years that I've been on treatment or on infusions.
Wow. Bueno, te cuento, Dwayne, que acá en Colombia solo tenemos una, que es Myozyme.
La
¿Me
misma
My,
dices
Lumicin.
la misma? Sí,
Sí, que
sí,
es
sí,
Myozyme.
tenemos esa.
my,
En Latinoamérica, en Brasil y en Argentina ya
A
tienen
la
la
Nesbiazine.
segunda Nexviazyme, ya tienen Nexviazyme. Y en Latinoamérica, pues todavía no tenemos acceso a la de
A la de
Amicus.
Amicus. Possibility. ¿No? En la
Exacto.
chaperona.
A ver, la chaperona todavía no la
Esa todavía
tenemos.
no.
Entonces acá, pues en Colombia donde estamos todavía con la primera encima. No sé si de pronto haya preguntas acá en Zoom o por Facebook o por YouTube. Ustedes me cuentan. O si no, bueno, que creo que esta segunda pregunta ya la contestaste, que si ya has sido invitado para realizar ensayos clínicos y nos comentaste que sí, estuviste 5 años en un ensayo clínico para el medicamento que estás tomando. No sé si alguien acá en el público, el público virtual de Zoom, tenga alguna pregunta para Dwayne, que quieran de pronto comentarle algo. Si tienen algún saludo también, es válido. No sé, nuestras compañeras de la Universidad del Bosque, ¿qué nos dicen? José, que José está muy callado hoy. Normalmente José no es tan callado, pero hoy sí lo he notado muy callado.
And, one thing too, I want to say too, because, there are over 600 different gene mutations that can cause Pompe disease. It affects everybody differently. I was diagnosed in my 50s. I know people that were diagnosed in their 40s, in their 30s. And in the United States, newborn screening has helped diagnose a lot more uh, infants and babies. But there is such a wide spectrum; it affects everybody differently. That what works for one person might be different for another person. For me personally, I felt that I've changed my eating habits a bit, where I try to eat more protein and cut out some of the carbs. My ancestry on my mom's side of the family, my grandparents come from Sicily. So I'm Italian and I like pasta. I like lasagna and my pizza and my carbs. But I found myself switching out my snacks, where instead of potato chips, I eat nuts, I eat cashews, I eat cheese sticks. And I feel like, that's helped in my treatment, help in my journey. The foods that I eat, I do like a donut. If you see me on social media, I'll post that I like a donut. I like a pastry. But, I also like to eat chicken a lot, and I eat fish and meat to get more protein. I watched a video with a nutritionist who said that a good source of protein is eggs, because eggs have a lot of amino acids in them. And there have been some studies in the Pompeii community and research that there are some amino acids, L-alanine, that are good for our muscles. And I took the nutritionist's advice and started supplementing my diet with amino acid pills and powders. And I use what we call branch chain amino acids and essential amino acids, where the stereotype is you would take that stuff if you were like a bodybuilder lifting weights trying to get big muscle. But as for a Pompe patient whose muscle cells aren't being processed the right way because of the lack of the enzyme, I'm taking those amino acids just to help my muscles to recover and to not deteriorate more. So not only do I, do the ERT treatment with infusions, I'm also supplementing my diet with more protein and less carbs. And I'm supplementing with amino acids to help my muscles recover more. Doing physical therapy and exercise in the pool and hot tub. It's all a combination of everything that kind of works together. It'll, like a soccer ball, and rolls down the field. And I feel like that has helped me along the way and helped me to be able to keep doing what I'm doing.
Y funciona muy bien.
Todo es un complemento. Realmente todo lo que hace Dwayne es un trabajo maravilloso, interdisciplinario, que pues también nosotros lo conocemos acá en Latinoamérica, que no es solamente la enzima que te la coloquen, pues acá en Latinoamérica es cada 15 días. No sé si en Estados Unidos sea más o menos por los mismos tiempos o si es semanal. Acá es cada 15 días, cada 2 semanas. Adicional a eso, pues la alimentación, la nutrición es uno de los pilares, como siempre nos lo dice Brian. Y el otro pilar es el tema de la rehabilitación integral, que son las terapias físicas, terapias ocupacionales, hidroterapias, que precisamente Gabriela nos está preguntando acá. Espérame que lo acabe de ver. Y si has estado en algún programa de terapias físicas o las realizas individualmente, nos pregunta Gabriela para Dwayne.
So over the course of my 7 years, I have been to 4 different physical therapy offices. So I've, I first started out with one physical therapy office that was tied in with my neuromuscular specialist and did certain exercises where, I'm trying to work on my balance, hold on to a chair and lift one leg up and do exercises with the one physical therapy office. Then I switched to a different physical therapy office that was closer to my work so I could go there more often. Usually I was once a week doing physical therapy. There have been times where I've gone twice a week. Um, Physical therapy, once you start going after a few years, you know what exercises you should be doing. The apartment complex that we live in has a small fitness center. So, after a few years, I would go to the fitness center and ride the stationary bike for 5 or 10 minutes. And I worked up to now where I can do like 30 minutes on the exercise bike. And then they have a few exercise machines. And I just do what I've been told by the physical therapist. But the thing is I would research the physical therapist because not every physical, sorry, not every physical therapist knows about Pompe disease. And a lot of times they're doing exercises that do more damage to your muscles than are beneficial. So you have to find a physical therapy office that is familiar with neurological or neuromuscular conditions. That's why in the United States we have the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and they have MDA care clinics that recommend physical therapy places. But I've switched four different physical therapy companies to find one that I like, and then over the years, some of the exercises, I do on my own, and I've just learned. When you talk to other Pompe patients, in the support groups, you find out what other people are doing. Some people are still able, like, to walk a few steps on a treadmill. Well, others, I can't do a treadmill, so I like exercise bike, a stationary bike. And, everyone's different, their levels. A lot of people like to add in yoga, Pilates, stretching exercises to keep the muscles loose and strengthened. But for me, I found, it's your body. You get to learn what your body is capable of. In the beginning, I wasn't able to get up off the floor, like I mentioned. If I was on the floor, I had to crawl over to the couch to get myself up. During 2020 in the United States, when we had the pandemic and everything was shut down, in California, the gyms were closed. We couldn't exercise. We had to find alternative ways. I say, think outside of the box. And we got some inflatable paddle boards. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're kind of like giant surfboards. And you put them in the water and you stand, you crawl on it and you stand up and you paddle standing up. And I'm thinking, I have Pompeii. I can't stand up on a paddleboard. Why do I want to buy a paddleboard? Um, I just sit on it and sit on it like a kayak or paddle like a kayak. But when we brought it home after using it, we left it inflated and put it on our dining room floor. And I started doing my exercises on my own on the paddleboard, trying to stand up with the chair next to me and stuff like that. And after 6 months, I got to a point where I am now able to stand up on my own if I'm on the floor. So I feel like that I have improved my strength in my body doing certain activities over the course of the years, and feel like physical therapy is good, but it's different for everybody. But you celebrate the wins. I I think I saw Heather Shorten, who runs Pompeii Alliance, post today on Facebook that in her physical therapy, she was able to stand on one leg for 30 seconds. And that was a big win for her. And I think we need to celebrate the wins, whatever it may be. If you can stand on your leg for 36 seconds, if you can raise your arm up and keep it up for 10 seconds, doing exercises, you just need to celebrate the wins, no matter how big or small.
Sí, nosotros conocemos a
No,
Heather. Heather
sí,
también estuvo contándonos su historia de vida acá, así igual que tú, estuvo contándonos todo el tema que ella trabaja de salud mental. Y fue muy interesante lo que hablamos también con Heather. Un saludo para ella si nos está viendo, para la gente de Pompe Alliance. Bueno, tengo dos preguntas adicionales. Nos hablabas de la MDA, has hecho con ellos artículos, haces podcasts. Cuéntanos un poco de este trabajo social que haces con la MDA.
Well, I was after I was diagnosed and I joined all the Facebook groups. I wanted to share my story and my journey. And in 2019, I did a muscle walk for the MDA Association. Um, it's kind of like it's not a marathon, it's like a walk around a mile, a kilometer, 2 kilometers. And my team Hope for Pompeii was the number one fundraising team for the Los Angeles Muscle Walk in 2019. And I was the number one fundraiser for the Los Angeles Muscle Walk in 2019. And that kind of propelled me into doing more advocacy for Pompeii and sharing my story. As I have a passion for sharing my journey living with Pompeii. And they asked me to become an MDA ambassador. So I became an MDA ambassador. I've been an MDA ambassador since the start of 2020. And then Pompeii Disease News, the website, Pompeii Disease News, was looking for a writer, for a columnist, and I applied and started writing a column. I have a column on their website called On the Road to Pompeii, which I wrote for a couple years. And then in between, I'm trying to get my story out there. I have been interviewed a couple times by a couple of sports reporters for some college basketball games. And
contigo, Ramón.
I became a patient speaker. I'm a Pompeii champion with Amicus Therapeutics, and had an opportunity to speak at the 2022 World Symposium in San Diego. So I've had some opportunities to speak, and then I've done quite a few of these Zoom meetings with other organizations to share my story. I get a lot of feedback where people say that's similar journey that they've had. my diagnosis was really quick, maybe about 6 months from beginning to end. But, when I look back on life, I've had symptoms since I was like 36. When I was 36, I had my gallbladder removed. I did a liver biopsy. My liver enzymes, my AST and my ALT liver enzymes were high, and the doctor just said, that's the way you are. So I probably could have been diagnosed 15 years earlier, but not until I had the serious symptoms when I was 50. Um,
Eh, ¿Alguna de nuestras queridas compañeras de la Universidad del Bosque nos puede ayudar con esta pregunta que está ahí en el Zoom, por favor?
Mm,
Hola, Keren.
¿ya?
Más o menos te escucho, pero
¿Ya me escuchas?
sí, ya te escucho.
La de cuando hablas sobre todas las facetas de tratamiento.
Sí.
Cuando hablas sobre todas las facetas de tu tratamiento, me surge una pregunta sobre la percepción que empiezas a tener con la vida, la mente, el cuerpo, el alma. ¿Crees que has despertado una conciencia más profunda sobre el sentido de la vida o sobre la manera en la que nuestro cuerpo se relaciona con las cosas que nos rodean? What do you think about that?
¿Sí entendiste, Dwayne, la pregunta?
well, I was reading the captions, but I'm trying to, what was the question? I
Bueno, te
wish
la
I,
voy a, te la voy a leer. Cuando hablas sobre todas las facetas de tu tratamiento, surge una pregunta sobre la percepción que empiezas a tener con la vida, la mente, el cuerpo, el alma. ¿Crees que has despertado una conciencia más profunda sobre el sentido de la vida o sobre la manera en la que nuestro cuerpo se relaciona con las cosas que nos rodean? Bastante
I,
profunda esa pregunta.
yeah, it's how it's yeah, how you perceive things, your mind. You talk about mental health a lot, and sometimes you struggle. I mean, it's not good, it's not good times every day. You have struggles. There are days where my back aches and my legs are sore if you do too much exercise or too much work. But I think it is a mental thing that you have to think positive and to appreciate what you have. And I say, do what makes you happy. Uh, life is short. you know I mean, not to change the subject, but so that people out there listen. Our oldest son passed away from a brain tumor when he was 22 years old. you know a parent's not supposed to be losing their child like that. And that happened the same year I got diagnosed with Pompe disease. And it just, things like that just have a way of changing the way you view life, and you view what's important to you. And Pompeii is, you know you don't want to let Pompeii to slow you down. I don't want Pompeii to slow me down. I don't want it to suck the joy and happiness out of my life. And yes, whatever, like you say, religion. I am a Christian man, and I have faith, and I have hope, and I have hope for better treatment for Pompe disease with the clinical trials and gene therapy and everything that goes on. And I wish other countries were able to have access to the treatment that the United States has, and other things, and wish there was more ways to help out there. But I feel like it's about having the attitude, of keep moving, in the community, we say time is muscle. And so, we keep moving forward. I say keep moving those Pompeii muscles, and just do what you can, and yeah, it's everything. It's the way you think, it's your environment and your life, and
esa actitud que tomas ante los desafíos, ante las situaciones adversas, es lo que te forma como ser humano y eso es importante, ¿no? El mensaje que nos estás dando, Dwayne. Hay otra pregunta acá. Creo que a Karen no se le escucha muy bien. No sé si de pronto Isabela o Gabriela están por ahí que nos puedan apoyar sobre esta pregunta.
Sí, yo puedo.
Gracias, Gabriela. La del José, la que puso José ahí.
Sí, dice, ¿cómo es tu equipo médico que te atiende? ¿Qué especialistas lo conforman? ¿Cada cuánto te ven? ¿Te ven todos al mismo tiempo o por cada uno por separado? ¿Cada cuánto te hacen exámenes de control?
so my medical team consists of my neuromuscular specialist, who is like the head of my team, and I see him every, it's supposed to be every 6 months, but with schedules, it's, might be 7 or 8 months. And his visits include a team visits with a respiratory therapist, a physical therapist, sometimes an occupational therapist. I have a neurologist that I see yearly. I also see a cardiologist every year. I had some issues during one um, exam where I had a EKG for my heart, and it had um, some readings that were weird. So I started seeing a cardiologist, um, and those are the ones I see on a regular basis. I still have my PCP, what we call, or a primary care physician doctor that I see for regular things. Um, I have a referral to see a pulmonologist for my breathing, but I haven't seen one yet. I do use a BiPAP machine. I am on a BiPAP machine. I put it on when I go to bed at night, and I'm able to sleep through the night using it and wake up in the morning rested and full of energy and ready to go. Um, Other than that, I really don't have any other. I do not see a geneticist or a nutritionist. They're out there. If I ever need to contact them, I can get a hold of them. But at this point in my journey after the 7 years, my neuromuscular specialist handles all of my uh, appointments.
Bueno, y para ir cerrando esta charla de esta historia de vida de Dwayne, nos gustaría saber qué redes de apoyo tienes en California o qué asociaciones de pacientes en este momento están contigo o que conoces dentro de California.
Well, in California, with the Muscular Dystrophy Association and the MDA care clinics. Um, I follow the AMDA Pompeii Association. Uh, I'm on their website where I share my story with the AMDA Association. Um, there's other Pompeii support groups out there. the International Pompeii Association that I follow, Pompeii Alliance, Pompeii Warrior Foundation. Those are ones to follow online on social media. There isn't really any other ones that I'm a part of other than those, or that I participate in and follow along. On Facebook, we have the community groups Cure Pompeii Disease and Pompeii Friends, and those are ones to be a part of as well.
Brian, ¿estás por ahí?
Yes. Sí.
Ujú. Bueno, profesor Cristian creo que va a salir o tiene que salir porque se le fue la luz. Entonces vamos a ir cerrando nosotros. Dwayne, pues queremos que nos cuentes las redes sociales, cómo hacen de pronto para ver tu trabajo, que puedan conectarse contigo, puedan conectarse también como grupo de apoyo y un mensaje también que nos puedas dejar a toda Latinoamérica que te está escuchando ahora, desde Argentina, Brasil, Colombia,
Oh,
México.
Well, you can find me on Facebook, just under my name, Dwayne M. Wilson, or I have the nickname SoCal, Southern California, Pompeii Champ. You can Google that. I'm on Instagram at Smashing Pompeii. I have these wristbands that say um, Smashing Pompeii. So you can find me on
smashing.
Smashing Pompeii. I say
Okay.
I am smashing Pompeii, and that's my mantra. I say Pompeii, it's in my DNA. I have Pompeii. Pompeii doesn't have me. I am smashing Pompeii. I
Right.
am a Pompeii champ. And that's
Yo
how
tengo Pompe no me tiene a mí.
that's right. That's right.
Dile
And
tu mantra ahorita también, Brian, cuando termine. Cuando termine le dices tu mantra.
and I did a couple podcasts you can find on YouTube, The Chronic Truth and On One Condition. Those are two podcasts that I've been on where I've shared my story, my journey, and you can go to Pompeii Disease News website to read my column and my story on that website. And yeah, connect, send me a message. I love to talk with Pompeii people, communities. All over the world. I said, it's a worldwide disease. It doesn't hold back, and we say together we are strong. And yeah, I'm here to reach out, to talk, answer any questions, send me a friend request. And
Así es.
someday we'll come visit. It'll be on my bucket list to come visit.
Por
Eres
eso,
bienvenido en Latinoamérica.
siempre bienvenido. You're welcome.
Brian, ¿y cómo es tu
Thank you.
mantra también para que nos lo recuerdes?
La única debilidad que existe es no seguir luchando.
Good.
That is true.
Eh,
That is true.
bueno, pues de verdad muchísimas gracias, Dwayne, por aceptar esta invitación, por sacar este tiempo para estar con nosotros, que no sabemos inglés, pero estamos, eso no quiere decir que
Eh,
no te entendamos. Entonces, de verdad, muchísimas gracias. Y, y bueno, ojalá de verdad puedas venir o nos podamos ver en alguno de los espacios donde se hable sobre Pompe, se pueda sacar leyes para Pompe a nivel internacional y podamos hacer algo por toda la comunidad de guerreros de Pompe.
That would
muchísimas
be great.
gracias.
And
Brian,
thank you for having me on here. I appreciate
no,
that.
no te vayas a ir porque vamos a tomarnos una foto, entonces vamos a cerrar transmisión y ya nos tomamos la foto. Gracias a todos los que están acá. Eh, si se quieren quedar para tomarnos una foto, bienvenidos y y feliz fin de semana para todos. Dwayne, no te
Feliz
nos
fin de semana.
vayas.
Nos vemos mañana,
Mañana
2 de
tenemos
la
terapia,
tarde,
mañana
hora
tenemos
Colombia.
taller de plastilina para los que
Y
quieren
vamos a
estar.
tener una fábula muy interesante.
Y muchas
Así que,
sorpresas también para los
y
niños.
sorpresa, así es. Así es. Entonces, nos despedimos y no se vayan para la foto. Bye. Bye, Dane.
If you believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, and walk across the water, the water. You feel defeated, falling on your knees and looking out for some hope tonight. You try to stand up, but you throw your hands up like you no longer have the strength to fight. Cause you've seen too many sunsets, too many days ending in the darkest night. But on your own, you'll never know, you'll never know. If you believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, walk across the water, the water. Believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, walk across the water. If you believe. They say that all you need is faith, but it's almost like you lost your way. Took a few wrong turns, took a few breaks, falling behind now, looking for grace. Cause you need someone to lift you up, yeah, make right all the things you've done.